Well, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the worst crime is in red states. My next guest says Chicago is the #1 city with 573 homicides in 2024. Let's bring in author of Taking Back Trump's America and the senior counselor to the President of the United States for Trade and Manufacturing. And we'll get to some of that stuff in a second. But let's just talk about Pritzker for just a minute. In the briefing in that room, the Oval Office, a couple of minutes ago, when asked, Trump said, and I'm quoting here, regarding Chicago, we're going in. We haven't said when, but we're going in. And I think that's the first time I heard him actually say we are definitely going in. Your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I know J.B. Pritzker very, very well, Eric, from the first administration. I was the head of the Defense Production Act in terms of getting everybody like PPE and all that stuff, vaccines, testing kits, all that. Pritzker was a royal pain in the ass. We bent over backward to make sure everybody was going to be okay in Illinois and particularly Chicago. And he'd go, thank you very much. And then he'd get on the tube and he'd trash the crap out of us. He's a bad actor. Now, to his claim that somehow all the crimes in the red states, this is like just BS. I've got a great Twitter thread, Real P. Navarro on Twitter. X, I guess, now. And what it does is it looks at, first of all, the overall, how many homicides in the top 15 cities around the country, and then adjusting that for population, how many homicides adjusted for population. So when you do it the first time, 14 out of the 15 mayors are not Republican. They're not red by any stretch of the imagination. Most of them are Democrats. Some of them are no party, which is typical for mayor's races. But it's all blue mayors. I mean, let's face it. And then and Chicago's #1 in homicides, by the way, for the country. And then when you adjust it, Chicago's still in the top 10. And again, 14 out of the 15 are blue, not red. So when Pritzker says that, he's like an idiot. I mean, it's just misdirection. So I've got really good statistics in there. I'm surprised it had to be me that put them out there. I haven't seen anybody do a good job or a better job of that. It's all there for everybody to see. The guy is a bad governor and has no business being president, which is what his aspiration is. But he'd be a nobody, Eric, if he didn't have the Pritzker fortune behind him. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
with you.
I think it's a Hyatt hotel of partial owner of that group. I think the Pritzker family owns some of that as well. Yeah, those guys are billionaires. They're all loaded. Pete, let's switch a little trade. You're a trade guy, trade rep. Tariffs,
Sure.
The judge found them at least temporarily, unconstitutional. Let's talk a little bit about India, specifically India, because India,
Sure.
Trump has put on a 50% tariff on India. It's pretty hefty for a country that size. The judge now says, hold off. Where do we stand with these, and does this open the door for maybe more negotiations with India?
Well, let's talk about the case first. It wasn't a judge. What it was, Eric, was an appeals court. And there were 7 judges in the majority. Again, there's numbers involved here. 6 out of the 7 judges, Democrats. The 12 states that intervened against the Trump tariffs were all blue states with blue state governors. And then the 5 importers, mostly a Chinese crap, if you trace the money, at least some of their money appears to come from the Koch brothers, the Koch network. So, hey, this was like a typical weaponized injustice effort that we see in the courts, whether it's on trade, whether it's on border security, everything in between, okay? Now, the good news, Eric, is that the dissent, 4 judges laid out a clear roadmap for the Supreme Court to uphold the Trump tariffs. It deals with the 3 major questions. We don't need to go over them now unless you want to. I can get into the weeds with you.
No weeds.
But that's that. I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
The tariffs are still in place.
But does it open the door? Here's my concern. Over the weekend, we saw Modi from India and Xi from China and Putin getting a little lovey-dovey going on there, and it concerns people like me, especially. Yes, security, our national security, yes, but also in markets as well, because Russia has the oil, China needs the oil, India needs it as well. It's a a group that I don't like to see get too close to each other.
All right, let me lay that one out for you. I had a piece in the Financial Times on this. India doesn't need the oil, full stop, Eric. They didn't buy they bought virtually no Russian oil before February of 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. They bought virtually no Russian oil. After that, Russian refiners came into India, got in bed with the big oil refiners in India. Putin says, we'll give you this crude at a discount because he needed to sell the stuff. They refine it. Then they make a bundle selling it to Africa, Asia, and Europe. And then what happens? Well, Putin gets the money from India. Putin uses the money for weapons, bombs, drones, kills Ukrainians. The Ukrainians come to us and Europe and say, give us more taxpayer money to pay against the bombs that India paid for. And India got the money because they exported a bunch of stuff to us. That's insane, Eric. It's insane. So the idea that India needs the oil or somehow we shouldn't put tariffs on to stop them from doing it, it's insane. And the reason why we have 50% tariffs on India, 25% is because they're the Maharaja tariffs. They got the highest tariffs in the world for any big country. That's got to stop. They wouldn't come to the bargaining table. They're bad actors. The other 25% is because they're buying Russian oil, which is being used to kill Ukrainians and put a heavier burden on American taxpayers. So, yeah, it's like when Modi goes and shakes the hand of China, that's insane. I mean, look, China has been their biggest existential threat. China's the one that provided the nuclear weapons to Pakistan, has traditionally backed Pakistan. China's the one that's invaded India several times, taken territory from them. I don't know what Modi's thinking. So this is not a good look for Modi as the head of the largest democracy getting into bed with those
You've called India nothing but a laundromat. I assume you mean money. Laundromat.
Money laundering, yeah, that's what it is. It launders Russian oil money.
Isn't the biggest laundromat for Russian money Ukraine?
Oh, I don't know that to be true. I thought you were going to go with the China card. People say, why? Yeah, it's like,
Ukraine is wildly
Ukrainians
corrupt.
are dying because Russia's trying to kill them.
And they've been notoriously bad actors in the money laundering world. You must know that,
I get that. I'm not going there, but it's just a fact. Russia invaded Ukraine, and they're using Indian money, basically to keep killing Ukrainians, and they come to us for money. Ukrainians come to us for money and say, hey, help us defend against Russia. Well, we'd have to give them a lot less money if India didn't do that. So that's what that's about.
All right. We're going to leave that. I really appreciate your time, Pete. Always love having you on.
No, my pleasure. Always to see you.
Come back more often. We love having you on. And the chat's lighting up. They love you. Great guy, Peter Navarro. Great guy. All up and down the chat here. I watch it.
The Bolling posse. Okay, brother.
The Navarro posse watching the Bolling show. Pete, thank you so much.
All right, man.